So, welcome again to another 360 live stream. We're figuring out awesome ways of making next level content with 360. Got this amazing new plugin on the way that will be out and ready to use for rendering super high-res videos out of Unreal Engine. Very exciting stuff. So since we're so excited about this and it's coming out soon, we've just been doing these live streams every week to run through tips and tricks for using Unreal Engine to its best capabilities for rendering awesome 360 scenes. So each week we're just covering different methods, different techniques, different things we find out for making awesome 360 content. This week we're looking at diving into DaVinci and using it for adding post-process effects, such as these. So this really intense over-the-top bloom, which would usually cause a lot of seams in a 360 render. Totally seamless here, which is really great. And this is because of, if I just demonstrate this as well, the fact that you can pan around and no matter what angle you're at, you're getting no seams with the bloom. So really nice to see. And might get a bit more experimental towards the end of this one and see what other post-process effects we can add and how you might deal with seams. But it's a pretty basic method for covering up the seams when it comes down to it. But obviously this would be way more difficult to kind of mitigate some of these seams if we were working on making the post-process effects in Unreal Engine. So this is why we're taking a clean render from Unreal and then piping it through to DaVinci and doing those kind of effects after the fact of making the main render. So this seems like the best way to do post-process effects with 360 video in Unreal at the moment. So let me just try to demonstrate some post-process effects that can cause issues within Unreal. So just got this 360 capture happening at the moment, so it's gonna be a little bit laggy, but it's all good. So in this render target, we can kind of debug some seams and things. I'm just going to pause it for now so I can get to the other part easier, more stress-free. You know what? I'll actually dock another details panel. Over here. Feels like we might have another capture going on. Oh yeah, that one can be paused. 360 capture, paused. Still got not many frames, but that's cool. We move. So in here, classic things that might cause issues. So we've got bloom. Our camera handles bloom pretty well because it's got this 360 bloom method. But again, you get more control over bloom in something like DaVinci, I think, personally, unless you kind of code your own bloom in Unreal. Big one is chromatic aberration. So if we add a lot of intensity to that. So chromatic aberration is this kind of effect. Might be good for making a kind of film look where you kind of have a bit of distortion, usually around the edges. So you can set this start offset. Just a little bit of this kind of old film feel. Makes things a bit more realistic if used very sparingly. But say we were to make it really intense like this. We unpause the render target here just to check it out. We can see that this causes seams. So here you can see this jagged edge, and it's sort of an outline. You can see it runs up here, down here, along here, And this is an outline of the 6 faces that make up the 360 render being stitched together. And so using something like chromatic aberration will make these 6 faces visible. And it's something that's really hard to clean up because it's kind of all over the place. This is obviously a very harsh usage of chromatic aberration. You might be able to get away with using it a bit more subtly, and you might be happy without having too much of a noticeable seam. So like if it's like literally this subtle, take that off. And perhaps that might be adding something without causing seams, but it's actually barely visible at all. And there is still a seam here. So this is why it's kind of better to, well, these seams kind of come up because this is generally kind of post-process effects and materials are using screen space as an input. So especially this start offset, it's going to take the whole measurement of the screen, calculate the center point or the edge points, and then make the effect more or less based on how far it is from the center or the edge. So this is totally based on screen space. So then when you have a difference between what all the screens are seeing, because this 360 render is made up of 6 faces looking in all directions, that's sort of why you get these mismatches between what the 6 faces are seeing. So it totally makes sense why you're seeing this. So this is kind of why you want to take a clean render of the whole 360 image and then do some chromatic aberration just to the 360 image. So that's what we're going to look at doing using DaVinci. And yeah, run through that now. So, yep. So I'll just cover rendering this out again. I have covered this in previous streams, but it's all incredibly quick, so it's all good. So just jump into a level sequence. If you've got our plugin enabled and everything, you can actually just use any CineCam in your level now. So it used to be that you had to add a 360 capture. This can be useful if you want to make adjustments in here to exposure or set a bloom method like this, and further color settings and things like that. You can use this for that. You don't actually have to. So any CineCam that's in a level sequence, as long as you've got Movie Render Queue enabled and you've got our plugin enabled, you can jump into Render Queue. And then in the settings, you can just set 360. Okay, equirectangular. It's really good for debugging this stuff. It's generally useful for a lot of this stuff. Obviously, you've also got VR outputs, so that's cool. But if we go equirectangular, we can always convert it to VR outputs later on in DaVinci, so that's useful. So I would generally output as an EXR. Any of these compressions are quite like this compression. And then I usually do 8 temporal samples since I've got a video. Make sure that override anti-aliasing is set. I generally go at least 4K, maybe higher. So you can see if you hover over these, you can see it different formats, different projection types. You can see the resolutions for these. So this is actually 4K, this one. And yeah, that would be my render settings. Make sure you set the file path. No need to change this because that resolution is set here. And yeah, that's good to go. Maybe for tests, I would just do like a playback range of 3. So you just got 3 frames. But yeah, once you know what you see, once you know it's putting it out correctly and everything, then you can do the whole sequence. So yeah, with that rendered, we can go into something like DaVinci. Bring in your media. I'll do this in a new bin. Yeah, I've just been using DaVinci a bit more recently. It's looking really, really useful for a lot of this movie pipeline stuff, compositing stuff. So, grab your footage. Check this out in this awesome DJV EXR viewer for now. Looking fine. Awesome. So we can bring this in here, I believe. It's okay. And it's brought in the whole sequence. Pretty sure. Because you can set the frame display mode to individual sequence. So yeah, there's the individual frames, but easier to manage as sequences. So that's cool. And then I'm gonna go into cut. Hold on, need to create a timeline for this. Oh, add intermediate pool and then create a timeline. That's cool. So in this timeline, make sure that's running, that's all good. And the fact that DaVinci's playing this 4K this well is really impressive. So we can go over to color. Okay, so we can see our alpha channel now, so you can turn that off. Over here, clip attributes. Clip attributes here. Alpha mode, don't need the alpha for now, so none. Awesome. Seeing a bit of a scene here, I think. It's not too bad. Okay. Then over to color. Then we can do a bit of a color conversion. Change this to linear to Arri log C. And then with an Alt S, we can duplicate this and then put a lot on it. This got nothing on it. Yeah, no color correction. Interesting. Have I got color conversion going on in here, maybe? Things. No, that's all good. Color science is all good there. Okay, so these are looking kind of like what I would expect actually. Maybe these film looks are better for this scene. Let's just go for this one for now. So that's cool. We've got like a general color grade going on here. It's not like exactly the same as the Unreal scene. But it's it's some tone mapping and it's looking quite nice and filmic. So for me, for now, I'm gonna roll with that. I'm not gonna spend too long on the color grade. And also we could look at adding some kind of halation or bloom. In the free version of DaVinci, you can do a glow. This is kind of a bloom-like effect. And you can mess with this. So yeah, we're getting like this really nice clean bloom. No seams in your squares or anything, it's just reading from this flat image. So that's pretty great. You know, you can just go mad with this kind of glow effect, which is great. So say we wanted to do a super dream sequence and we wanted this. What you can do now is go and export. So this is still going to have a seam on these edges here, because like it's going to take this point and want to glow it that way, and it's just kind of going to stop. I think we can demonstrate this. Go back over to Fusion, and we can add a pano map in here. Yep. And add some rotation here. We need to do this to the thing that's got some glow. So yeah, we will only see this once we export it. So I'm gonna add 0 for this, and I'm just gonna export this. So go to deliver. Just gonna do it as an MP4 for now for preview. We can go. So rotation 0. Call it like bloom. Bloom rotation 0. And we're gonna, yeah, just add that onto the key. Render up. Cool, so that's done. And then we're going to render it again with no rotation. Sorry, with 180 rotation. Add to queue and render. Awesome. So now back in media over here. Just gonna grab that export that I just made. Find it from this pile. Yep. Cool. So we got rotation 0 and rotation 180. Gonna add these two straight to this media pool. And you want them in the timeline as well. Cool. So if we go on this first one, we go into Fusion. We add that same rotate node. Can you do it like this? Pan position. Okay, let's do it like this. Shift space, then pano map. So now if we check out the rotation, we should see a seam here. Maybe I've upped the bloom so massively that we don't see the seam very much, but you do see it. You do see it here. You know, and that's going to be really distracting if you're just looking directly down this corridor. Because, you know, obviously with VR or something, you've got the ability to just look wherever you like. So, you know, we can't hide that any other way other than doing this export. So this one is now going to be panned to 180. And we know that this seam is down the center here, this first clip. And then we know this one should have a clean center. Yeah, that's great. So then we want just the clean center over the top. So we should be able to do a crop. Crop left, crop right, softness. Yeah, this can be anywhere really. It could be bigger or smaller, as long as it's covering the center. And then putting this over the top, we should now have a super clean image. So in the center, we've got rid of that seam, which is great. And then just that really fine, really soft blend between the two videos means that it all matches up really nicely. So that works really well for bloom. We could even add an adjustment layer, I believe. So over here, adjustment clip. This can go over here. And this could be another pano. So if we go in Fusion for this, and then we go pan. Should be able to check this out. Yeah, so we can kind of imagine that we're kind of looking in 360 very quickly with this pano map tool. It's obviously not exactly how it looks to look through this in 360, but we could use this to really analyze this at every point, make sure it's clean. But yeah, we're seeing the composite here panning around, which is really cool. So yeah, we could totally just re-export that, and we've got total seamless mad bloom going on, which is awesome. So there is a method for really previewing this in a kind of sphere, which could be cool to check out. So I believe it's in a different clip of mine. Not this one. What's this one? Might have been in a different project that I had before. Maybe I can show that in another session. So I've covered quite a lot here. I thought what I'd do just the remainder of this, just see what other post-process stuff we can get out of this. DaVinci seeming very cool for this. I also feel like there might be a more non-destructive way of doing, instead of exporting the clip and then loading it back through, is there like a more non-destructive way to just do like an adjustment layer to pan this over, and then another one to pan the other clip the other way? But what I'm feeling is that this panning happens before the color correction. So, you know, that's leading me to think it's difficult. But I definitely want to try and work that out, because I feel like you want to be able to see that all the seams are fixed, but also, you know, like I've got no ability to remove any of this bloom now, so it's kind of a destructive workflow. But yeah, I'm using the paid version of DaVinci here now, but I thought I'd just check out some other cool effects. It's got mosaic. If you want to immediately be in PS2, can you get higher than this? Yeah, you can. That's nice. Pretty cool. I think this is something that wouldn't cause seams in Unreal Engine anyway, if you wanted to add this pixel effect at that point. I quite like that. That's sort of my jam anyway, the PS1 style stuff. You can get really high with it, which is cool. Interesting. Yeah, blurs could be cool. Lens blur sounds interesting because this might be like a kind of screen space effect again. It's just a whole blur. It's kind of cool. You could mask out a section to direct attention maybe in VR. There's a lot of recommendations and limitations to working with VR. Certain things make you queasy, things like that. But what about if I work on the original clip again? That'd be cool. Not that one. Yeah, let's make a new timeline with the unused clip. Cool. So yeah, like in Fusion you have different effects as well. It looks like I could only find chromatic aberration in here. So I'm not sure why you have like this like the effects in this area as well as the effects in the color area. Kind of interesting. This was before I got the full version. So this is removal. Can you do it by a minus? To unremove it? I think that is adding it. Nice. So using the chromatic aberration removal effect by a minus amount will add chromatic aberration. And yet obviously this is not going to be affected by all the seams that you might have seen in previous in Unreal Engine based renders. It's cool. Again, gotta check whether it's something that will be a bit queasifying, cause sickness when viewed in VR. It's kind of something to be careful for with post-process in VR in general. What else could we do as post-process? Flicker is interesting. Yeah, glow or halation. Halation is again just a kind of Gaussian, a bloom kind of thing. So halation one is a bit generally better effects. You know what, I'm going to do the color conversion as well. Is it OS to copy? wonder how light rays would work. I wonder how this kind of calculates them. I'm sure if you get really techy with it, you could do some pretty accurate light rays with some stuff. That is quite interesting though. I don't know if like the direction of that, the light rays wouldn't be distorted enough when viewed in VR. They would just look overly kind of straight. Or maybe they would then also look distorted. I'm not sure. That's an interesting one. Could be useful. What happens if you put a depth map on this? It kind of picked up this building, right? Interesting. Don't really know how that works. I'll have to look up some more DaVinci stuff for that. Noise, again, is something that you might not want to run through a VR headset, apparently. Could do a sharpen, I guess. Again, I feel like sharpen quite often is kind of more useful if you're kind of overdoing it. So that's just kind of gross. I find sharpen is a useful thing to use if you're trying to make something look kind of old school. Because you have this like fake digital sharpen on a lot of old cameras and things. Totally look at making like a handheld cam kind of render, like that sort of style of render could be really fun. So this kind of sharpened chroma is again giving a kind of chromatic aberration feel. I'm gonna turn off this. Just that one. It's disabling all of them. Okay, just that one. Cool. Well, pretty freaky again, but kind of painterly, kind of interesting. What is abstraction? Okay. Not really my thing. Pretty gross, in my opinion. Could be a way to get a bit of a cartoony look, perhaps. Super strong edge on everything. Again, yeah, not my thing so much, but yes, probably something that would cause seams if you were to try and do something like this in Unreal. So, again, a good reason for using for using DaVinci for this stuff. Again, what is anyone using this for? Actually, edge detector is really useful for more advanced compositing techniques, isn't it? Can't remember what it was. It's like if you want to bring an alpha edge in, something like that. Just a straight effect, super garish. But yeah, hopefully as I dive into DaVinci a bit more, we get into some more advanced compositing techniques and how to use those with 360. But essentially, this is just showing that it seems like a lot of what's possible with, more traditional compositing could potentially be possible with 360 because of this kind of blending technique that we found, where you can just like remove the seams on these outer edges. So that's what's really exciting about this kind of find this week, is that we get this, pretty cool compositing method. So then you can get far more kind of wiggy with how you're doing your stuff and not worry about the seams. You can get much more stylized with this stuff. And again, if you're really into your compositing, it'd be awesome to see how far you could take it with 360 compositing, as I'm sure there's quite a lot that's opened up. Yeah, I love the idea of trying to create a kind of VHS handy cam, or what would you call it? Was it like a chest cam footage kind of render? You could definitely look at doing that because that would get into an interesting sequence that we could try out. But yeah, other than that, thanks for tuning in this week, and more interesting techniques next week. I will think about what we're looking at, and I'll post in the groups soon about what to look into next week. So yeah, thanks anyone who tuned in. Hope you found it interesting and useful, and keep an eye out for the new 360 update that's going to come out, and get playing with these ultra high res 360 renders. Cool, thanks a lot. Cheers.